We're counting down the 11 hidden health problems that end long rides. Not mechanical failures, but the silent breakdowns inside your own body. From creeping nerve damage to sudden brain shutdowns, this list exposes the physiological and psychological traps that seasoned riders ignore until it's too late. These aren't scraped knees. Each problem quietly erodes your focus, control, and survival on the road. Some will surprise you with how fast they escalate from mild discomfort to ride-ending emergencies. Which hidden failure ranks as the ultimate trip killer? Let's begin with number 11. A poorly set up saddle is a silent saboteur. Sustained pressure on nerves and blood vessels, especially in the perineal region, builds up hour after hour. Within just 1 to 2 hours on a bad seat, numbness sets in. A warning sign that blood flow is being choked off, and nerves are under siege. By the 4-hour mark, 60 to 70% of riders start fidgeting, shifting constantly in search of relief. But every forced adjustment steals stability from your ride. The consequence isn't just discomfort, it's a slow erosion of control. Ignore it, and you're trading both comfort and command for chronic pain and long-term nerve damage. Day after day of gas station snacks and fast food turns the body into its own worst enemy. Glycogen stores in the muscles and liver run low by the 3rd day, replaced by a sluggish heaviness that no amount of caffeine can mask. Protein deficits slow down muscle repair, so aches linger longer, and each morning starts with less energy in reserve. Essential vitamins and minerals, B12, magnesium, iron, never make it into the rotation, leaving metabolism and neuromuscular function running at a deficit. By the end of a week, focus slips, reaction times crawl, and recovery between riding days grinds to a halt. The effect isn't dramatic, but relentless. Every mile feels heavier, every decision takes longer, and the body's ability to bounce back vanishes. Poor nutrition doesn't cause a sudden crash. It quietly drags every system down, magnifying the risks that pile up with each passing day. Pride is the hidden engine behind so many catastrophic rides. The iron butt mindset, chasing a 1,000-mile day just to prove you can, turns a simple endurance challenge into a test of stubbornness over self-preservation. Riders with their eyes locked on mileage certificates ignore every warning sign. The body's protests, creeping fatigue, the subtle decay in judgment. The sunk cost fallacy takes over. After 800 miles, you push for the last 200, no matter how bad you feel, convinced that quitting is failure. Social media and riding forums feed the obsession, turning extreme mileage into a badge of honor and normalizing what should be a red flag. The outcome is always the same: mental exhaustion, reckless decisions, and a short fuse. The ego doesn't just ignore risk, it multiplies it, making every other hidden problem on this list more likely to end your ride for good. A scratched visor isn't just an annoyance, it's a rolling optical hazard that strips away your first and best line of defense. Micro abrasions scatter sunlight into halos and glare, turning every oncoming headlight and wet patch into a strobe. When the sun drops low or a cloud breaks, a rider can lose usable vision for up to 3 seconds. At 60 miles per hour, that's 260 feet of blind travel, nearly the length of a football field with zero reaction window. Phototransduction fatigue sets in after hours of squinting and straining, leaving the eyes slow to adapt when dusk falls or a tunnel appears. Cheap visors and neglected shields amplify the problem. Contrast fades, depth perception warps, and the world becomes a blur of indistinct shapes. Relying on a single visor for all conditions is a calculated risk. One rainstorm or sunset, and you're riding on faith, not sight. The math is simple. Glare plus speed equals a total loss of defense. A spare clear shield in your kit isn't a luxury. It's the difference between seeing the threat and riding straight into it. The roar inside a helmet at highway speed isn't just background noise, it's a daily assault on the rider's hearing. On any stretch above 60 miles per hour, In-helmet wind noise routinely hits 95 to 105 decibels. That's louder than a jackhammer, and it lasts for hours. Industrial workers are required by law to wear hearing protection above 90 decibels, with OSHA capping unprotected exposure at just 1 hour for 95 decibels. Yet riders absorb this level of punishment for 12 hours or more, day after day, with nothing but thin foam and plastic between their eardrums and the wind. The result is cumulative trauma, ringing ears that don't stop after the bike is parked, gradual loss of high-frequency hearing, and a creeping inability to pick out critical sounds, engine trouble, sirens, car horns, when it matters most. The fatigue isn't just physical. The brain spends precious energy filtering out the relentless noise, leaving less capacity for hazard detection and decision-making. Tinnitus becomes the soundtrack of every evening, and by the time the damage is obvious, it's permanent. Earplugs aren't optional. They're as essential as a helmet. Skip them, and you're trading your hearing for the illusion of freedom. The silence that follows isn't peace. It's the sound of irreversible loss. Torsional back and neck strain is the stealth killer of situational awareness. Long hours hunched over the tank or fighting the wind lock the cervical spine in a fixed, unnatural angle. Muscles along the neck and upper back seize up, and the vertebrae themselves start to compress under constant tension. The result? The ability to rotate the head drops from the normal 45 to 60 degrees down to just 20 or 30, barely enough to check a side mirror, let alone a true blind spot. Every lane change becomes a calculated risk, not because of traffic, but because pain has physically stolen the range of motion needed to scan for hazards. The lumbar region suffers too. Hip flexors shorten, pulling the lower back into a state of chronic spasm. Each ache and twinge siphons off attention, forcing the brain to split focus between pain signals and the road ahead. This cognitive tax isn't theoretical. Studies show that postural pain measurably erodes reaction time and hazard detection. Riders who ignore these early warning signs find themselves missing threats, making poor decisions, and relying on luck rather than awareness. The pain doesn't just distract, it creates a literal blind spot, turning every mile into a gamble where the odds keep getting worse. White knuckles on the bars seem like a sign of focus, but it's the start of a mechanical breakdown. Overgripping the handlebars, whether from wind, traffic, or plain anxiety, triggers a cascade that ends with your hands betraying you. Muscle contraction above 30% of your maximum grip strength shuts down blood flow within minutes. The veins close first, then the arteries, starving the forearm muscles of oxygen. Lactate and metabolic waste build up, and by the 2-hour mark, swelling and tightness creep in. Most riders don't notice the change at first. The hands get stiff, the throttle feels heavier, and every small correction takes more effort. By hours 5 to 7, fine motor control is already slipping. The difference between a smooth roll-on and a jerky lurch is gone. At 8 to 12 hours, functional collapse sets in. 70% of riders report losing the ability to modulate the brake lever or throttle with any precision. In an emergency, the hand clamps down, not with finesse, but with panic, locking the front wheel or chopping the throttle at the worst possible moment. This isn't just fatigue. It's a total loss of control, triggered by a feedback loop of exhaustion and frustration. The only fix is prevention. Relax the grip, practice release drills, and set up bars and levers for natural reach. Ignore the warning signs, and your hands will fail before your mind catches up. Numbness in the hands or feet is never just a minor annoyance on a long ride. It's a warning flare, the body's last-ditch signal that nerves and blood vessels are under siege from relentless vibration. Every hour spent with palms pressed to the bars and soles buzzing on the pegs delivers thousands of micro-impacts straight into the peripheral nerves. Over time, this barrage strips away the protective myelin sheath, the insulation that keeps nerve signals sharp and reliable. Blood flow drops, oxygen delivery falters, and the nerves begin to misfire or go dark altogether. The paradox is brutal. As sensation fades, riders often mistake the numbness for comfort, believing their body has simply adapted to the road. In reality, the feedback loop is broken. When a sudden hazard demands a quick squeeze of the brake or a delicate flick of the throttle, numb hands can't deliver. The difference between a smooth stop and a locked wheel is measured in lost milliseconds. Milliseconds the damaged nerves can't recover. Occupational health data from heavy machinery operators and long-distance cyclists is clear. Chronic vibration exposure leads to permanent neuropathy, forcing many off their machines for good. The treatment isn't cheap. Nerve damage management can run tens of thousands of dollars, and full recovery is rare. Ignore the numbness, and you're not just risking a bad day on the bike, you're gambling with the permanent loss of fine motor control, the very ability to ride at all. The body doesn't whisper its distress. It cuts the line, leaving you riding blind through your own hands. Energy drinks and sugar-laden snacks are billed as quick fixes, but every can and candy bar is a loaded gun for your brain. The timeline is brutal. 15 minutes after a high-sugar hit, blood glucose spikes, flooding the system with fuel. The pancreas responds with a surge of insulin, eager to mop up the excess. But the correction overshoots. Within 45 to 90 minutes, blood sugar plummets below baseline. A clinical hypoglycemia crash. At levels under 3.0 millimoles per liter, the brain's supply of glucose is so low that decision speed, memory, and reaction time crumble. This isn't a gentle fade. It's a sudden collapse. Focus narrows, hands lose precision, and the world turns fuzzy just as you hit a complex merge or a sudden traffic pinch. Emotional control goes out the window, replaced by irritability and confusion. The crash doesn't wait for a safe stretch of road. It arrives on its own schedule, often in the middle of the action. Convenience store shelves are stacked with these time bombs, marketed as energy, but engineered for a hard fall. The worst part? The effects linger. Even after a corrective snack or drink, cognitive clarity can take nearly an hour to return. The only reliable protocol is prevention. Skip the sugar roller coaster, fuel with steady, complex carbohydrates and protein, and treat every quick fix as a countdown to failure. On a long ride, your body isn't just running out of gas. It's setting itself up for a controlled crash at the worst possible moment. Every long ride ends with the same ritual. Check the bike, check the fuel, ignore the body. But the most common and most catastrophic failure isn't mechanical. It's silent dehydration. Under a helmet and jacket, the body sweats relentlessly, even when the air feels cool. 2 hours in, a rider can lose up to 2% of body mass in water without feeling especially thirsty. At this threshold, reaction time slows, attention narrows, and peripheral vision begins to fade. The hands still grip the bars, the eyes scan the road, but the brain is running on fumes. Push past 3% loss, and the effects are no longer subtle. Thermoregulation breaks down. Confusion and tunnel vision set in. The numbers are clinical. At 7% dehydration, cognitive impairment matches a blood alcohol level of 0.08. Legally drunk in every state. The difference is you don't feel impaired. The mind insists everything is fine, even as reaction times stretch by hundreds of milliseconds. Emergency stops, evasive maneuvers, hazard detection, all compromised, invisibly. Dehydration is a liar. It doesn't announce itself with dramatic symptoms. The first sign is often dark urine or a sudden drop in body weight at a rest stop, if you bother to check. Most riders don't. They ride on, losing focus, losing the ability to make quick decisions, convinced they can handle anything. The only defense is forced hydration, scheduled stops, measured intake, checking urine color, and weighing in before and after a ride. Skip these and you're gambling with your life every mile. The bike may be in perfect shape, but the rider is already legally impaired. riding blind to the fact that the most dangerous failure is happening inside their own skull. Silent dehydration doesn't just end rides. It ends the margin for error, turning a minor slip into a catastrophic mistake. Microsleep is the ultimate hard stop. No warning, no negotiation, no second chance. After 18 hours awake, or 2 nights in a row with less than 5 hours of sleep, the brain starts shutting down in short, involuntary blackouts. These aren't drowsy blinks or slow reactions. They're total loss of consciousness, lasting anywhere from a single second up to 10. At 60 miles per hour, a 5-second lapse means 440 feet of uncontrolled travel. That's enough to cross a median, drift into oncoming traffic, or leave the road entirely before you even realize what happened. The science is merciless. Once sleep pressure hits the threshold, the brain's wakefulness circuits flick off without permission. Willpower, caffeine, cold air, loud music, none of it can override the body's demand for sleep. During a microsleep, eyelids may stay open, hands might grip the bars, but the mind is gone. There's no sensation of fading out or coming back. Most riders only realize what's happened when the scenery has changed or the bike is off the pavement. The illusion of control is shattered by the cold reality of physics. At highway speed, every second of unconsciousness is 100 feet of blind faith. Crash investigations are littered with the evidence. Riders found upright, coasting in a straight line with no sign of braking or steering input. No mechanical failure, no sudden hazard, just a brain that clocked out, leaving the body to ride out the consequences. Survivors describe it as a missing frame in memory. One moment on the road, the next in the ditch, with no sense of time passing. Forensic data logs show zero input for several seconds, the unmistakable signature of a brain gone offline. The impairment is absolute. After 24 hours awake, reaction times are as slow as someone with a blood alcohol level of 0.10, well over the legal limit. But the difference is that alcohol gives warning signs, slurred speech, clumsy movement, obvious lapses. Microsleep is silent and sudden. The only prevention is mandatory. Get 7 to 8 hours of sleep before a long ride, never push through fatigue, and set strict no-ride windows during circadian lows. Early morning and mid-afternoon when the risk peaks. No badge, no destination, no amount of pride is worth the cost. When the brain decides it's done, the ride is over, whether you're ready or not. From subtle saddle pressure to the silent threat of microsleeps, this countdown exposes how the body, not the bike, is the weak link on any long ride. Across all 11 entries, a pattern emerges. Most failures start as minor annoyances, numb hands, dry mouth, a skipped meal, but escalate into catastrophic loss of control or focus. The most shocking entries, like silent dehydration and sudden hypoglycemia, reveal that critical impairment can build invisibly, mimicking intoxication or causing instant cognitive collapse. At the top of the list, microsleeps prove that no amount of willpower can overcome the body's breaking point. Every ranked item qualified because it quietly bypasses the rider's awareness until it's too late, turning pride and neglect into real danger. The clear insight: even experienced riders who obsess over mechanical reliability are only as safe as their physical and mental limits. In this category, the invisible always becomes unavoidable. The true cost of neglecting the body is not just discomfort, it's the sudden, irreversible end of the ride.